let's kind of dive in. Does anybody have any questions as we kind of get started here? Scott, Josh, Jeff, Felicia, Amy, you guys, everybody okay? Who else we got on here? Daniel, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
Hey, what's up? Yep.
All right, awesome. So one of the big things that we've been seeing a lot lately for the churches that we've been working with is a lot of people are kind of getting to are getting more prayer requests with the holidays here. And so typically one of the things that I've seen every single year is those types of some of the benevolence requests, right? Kind of go up around Christmas time, but also just the people who are going through some pretty dark stuff like family stuff and all that kind of stuff starts to go up at the Christmas time. So it's one of the reasons it's just so important to be sending the audio prayers, right? Just so people can actually hear your voice and just reminding them that, okay, they're not in this alone. They're not in it by themselves, and like somebody's got their back. Aaron, what's up, bro? Good to see you. Right. So that like, literally as you're coming in, you're in their corner. So just understand that you'll probably see those at Christmas, right? It might be business as usual for some of you guys, but typically what we've seen with some of the other ones, what we see a lot is just you've seen a lot more prayer requests kind of come in, people specifically just having a lot of family stuff and that kind of thing, and also having you may see an increase in the benevolence requests. That's going to happen, right? And just kind of knowing that and just kind of continuing to go out and invite people to Christmas Eve. So you can use the broadcast feature inside of ManyChat to send out Christmas Eve requests, so that are Christmas Eve invites. So that's another thing to kind of take a look at, right, and something to know about here as well. So let's see. That was the biggest thing that I really wanted to kind of address is really just remind everybody to be sending the audio prayers. I know if you've been doing it for a while, it's easy to kind of get to that point where you're kind of sometimes you might be missing some of those and letting some of those kind of slip through the cracks, but especially around the holidays, really, really important just to make sure, even if you're waiting till the end of the day and then responding to all of the prayer requests all at once. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I like to do things is kind of stack it that way, as opposed to just answering them throughout the course of the day. I like to knock them all out at once. And so but also just reminding you guys that especially with all the plan your visit you're going to be getting on Sundays and over the holidays, both at Christmas and then kind of rolling into the new year, just remembering that you have to be calling those people within 15 minutes of the plan your visit coming in, and just remembering that if you don't make that personal connection with them, there's a good chance they're not going to show up on Sunday. So even though they took time to give you their name, email, and phone number, said, yes, I want to plan my visit, I want to come out to church, you still need to make sure there's some type of human interaction, some type of personal connection with them, where you're not going to see them show up. So you might be calling and leaving a voicemail and then shooting a text message, then they respond to the text. Great, as long as there's some type of personal interaction that's going on in there after someone plans a visit. Caleb, you have anything to add? Anything that you've been seeing, excuse me, from some of the pastors you've been working with and talking to here recently?
I wish I did. I was thinking I should, and right before you asked that, and then nothing came to mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Just this season is difficult for a lot of people. I think, and it can be wearing. I think a life committed to prayer all the time. When we do these prayer ads, you're getting a lot, and I think there's a fatigue that can set in. And I know you guys are working your tails off and working the system. You guys are doing a great job. Just want to encourage you to press in too. And we know that a lot of the prayer requests you're going to get are going to be, like you said, the benevolence requests. And most of the time there's something else underlying it that it's not, whatever they're asking prayer for is actually not the thing that they need prayer for. We know that, but that our prayers are effective, that it's more than just a prayer request ad that's meant to elicit a conversation and get people to come to your church. They have opened themselves up to you praying for them. They've opened themselves up. They voluntarily asked that you go to God who exists and who happens to be listening and answering prayers. And just to be mindful of that when you're praying, God is answering prayers. And I think sometimes that's in fact, if anybody has any testimonies to share, what I always, I think, is super encouraging for other people to hear.
Yeah, no, we had a guy here recently, Caleb. I think actually that you talked to, whenever it had gone from, he was running about 60 people when he started on Facebook Ministry Ads, and he went from 60 to 110 in just over a month. I mean, it literally like just kind of caught fire, and he was in a small town, and they'd been trying to get the word out for as long as they could, and just from running with so many, just doing so many personal messages to all these people and calling them, getting on the phone, and just kind of going that extra mile. I mean, they just exploded, like 60 to 110 in just over a month. We've had just a ton of churches who've been seeing a bunch of visitors using the strategy, and we found over and over again that that's typically the biggest thing, is just it's the amount of time that they're spending with people and just doing ministry, right? Which is why we all got into this game in the first place. And so just spending that time to do, to go the extra mile. And send the audio prayers, connecting with people, connecting with the planner visits and stuff. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. We had I forget how many people we're up to now, but we've had a ton of testimonials of people who said they prayed with someone who was either contemplating suicide, and they were able to actually like pray for them and actually get them help. Or there's even a couple of people who had attempted suicide and then reached out afterwards, and they were able to pray with them and get them some help and that kind of stuff. So, just especially around the holidays, just knowing that, man, it's you don't realize who's on the other side of your faithfulness, right? Like taking time to pray for everybody, and it's pretty incredible. I just got somebody sent me on Facebook right now. One of the pastors I'll be working with just sent me. Let's see if I can just read this to you guys. Sent me a text and said, "Hey, this guy came through the Facebook ad, and here we go." So this guy came through a Facebook ad, and he linked to his story, and basically, this guy, here it is. Oops. All right, so this guy came because of a Facebook ad, and 3 months ago, this guy walked into Bay Chapel for the first time because of a Facebook ad. It was only his second time ever to step into a Christian church, and God did a miracle that day. After growing up in a family that was Jehovah's Witness, he spent much of his adult life confused about what to believe and didn't want to do anything with church or relationship with God. Between the passing of his father and other life circumstances, there was something in his heart that told him to give God a chance, and that's what he did. That Sunday, he came to church, and he surrendered his heart to Jesus. He and his wife started attending a connect group, joined a serve team, and Sunday they got to celebrate with Jason as he went public with his faith in baptism. Thank you, God, for changed lives, right? And let me show you guys the picture they sent here. Pretty awesome. So that's him getting baptized, which is pretty awesome, right? So here's a guy who grew up Jehovah's Witness. His second time at church as an adult, he showed up because he was going through some stuff and saw a Facebook ad and came out and gave his life to Christ. Now he and his wife, both are surrendered to Christ. They're plugged into a connect group. They're serving on a serve team, and then he just got baptized, all because of a Facebook ad. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty incredible stuff. So just remember, like, especially when you start to, like, sometimes like, oh, sweet, another person who needs a ride, right? Like, oh, somebody else who doesn't, who is asking for money. It's like, listen, like, there's always going to be people like that who are asking, but there's also Jasons on the other side of your faithfulness, right? Who grew up in a crazy home or grew up with something, right? Like, a lot of people think they have a problem with God when they don't. They just have a problem with someone who misrepresented God in their past, right? And so for you being God's representative and actually just taking time to pray with people and invite them to church could be a game changer. And there's going to be Jasons out there who are going to show up, and I mean, God's going to save that dude's marriage, right? Like his entire family line is going to change now. His kids are going to grow up different and going to grow up serving God because somebody had the guts to run a Facebook ad and spend time getting him to church. And man, now his entire, the trajectory of his entire life has changed. So just remembering that there's Jasons on the other side of your faithfulness.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, can I share a story that happened this week?
Yeah, please do.
our runner ad, we're about 3 months in, and we had a guy who drove 38 miles to get here on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
He drove 38 miles to get to our church, and he actually attended. We have 3 Sunday morning services, and he came to all 3 of them.
That's awesome.
We have 8:30, at 10, at 11:30, and he came to all 3 of them. Definitely just excited to see what God's up to in his life. So that was really cool. And then we had someone who also came who used to attend our church about probably 25 years ago. Came to our church when we were at another location out in the middle of a cornfield, Indiana. And now we're at a different location. Saw our Facebook ad and came. Her first step was coming to our Discover class, which is like our connection class. She came to that, and then she was actually crying because they were telling stories about the old church in the cornfield. And so she was in this class, and she said, "I really need to reconnect." And so she was here. So we had 2 people, pretty significant ministry opportunities that were here this week. But I relate with what Caleb's saying. It's getting a little overwhelming for us. I mean, we have a lot of needs. A lot of folks in addiction and don't have transportation and they're struggling. But because this is kind of new for us, we've never really gotten in this space before at all. And so, but that's where we are.
Yeah.
Where's Jeff at in Indiana?
I'm in Muncie, Indiana. You know where Muncie is?
Yeah, you're about 45 minutes from me.
Where are you?
We're in Bluffton and Fort Wayne.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. We should connect. I'll send you a Facebook request after this. We should connect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Scott.
What's the name of your church?
I'm at Union Chapel in Muncie.
Okay. Sweet.
And what church are you at, Scott?
Forgiven.
Okay. Cool. Good deal. Yeah. See, it's all the connections right there.
Boom. There it is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And secondly, there are places that are not cornfields in Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't know that till I moved here.
It's just a bigger cornfield. That's all. We moved from a small rural cornfield to a bigger in the city cornfield. So yeah.
Gotcha. From the corner to the center of the cornfield.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I when I moved to Oklahoma, because I moved from Maryland, I grew up in a city right between DC and Baltimore. And I literally came out to Oklahoma and I was like, are they still driving in covered wagons? I mean, it's just right?
Yes.
So I found out that's not true, but it's also not super far from the truth either.
The sooner.
Nothing like the East Coast.
So I want to encourage everybody that's on here also that, we're still getting responses from people we prayed for like 3 months ago or even 2 months ago that, lost touch with them, whatever we prayed for them, everything was good, went back and forth for a week or two. And then just this past week, people we're getting replies from like, hey, you prayed with us, so long ago. And I just want to let you know, we got an answer to prayer. So we're still on their mind.
Yeah.
Even though, maybe they didn't come to church or whatever, but they're even sending thank yous right now from a couple months ago.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's it. So Scott, to kind of tag on to what you're saying, there's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. And so it's literally like the part of our brain that like notices things, right? So like if you go out and you decide to test drive like a red F-150, all of a sudden, after that, like everywhere you look, your entire city's full of red F-150s, right? It's not that they weren't there before. It's just that your brain kind of filtered them out, right? Your brain filters that reticular activating system, filters the important information, and filters out the stuff that doesn't matter, right? But now because you test drove that red F-150, your brain looks at red F-150s as a reticular activator and it activates that system. And you're like, whoa, there's a red F-150. There's a red F-150. There's another one. And so all of a sudden you start noticing all these things. Well, what this does is it literally activates the reticular activating system for people that had driven by your church a million times, but never paid any attention, right? Or maybe, just walked by you at the grocery store, or had seen people wearing t-shirts from your church or something before. All of a sudden, your church becomes a reticular activator. So because of the time that you spent praying for them, it all of a sudden put your church on their radar. And so that's why, right, even months later, like they might drive by the church and immediately flash back to the time that you prayed for them and help them get through some stuff, right? And they might be, oh man, I'm gonna reach out to Pastor Scott and let him know that, man, things are going really good right now, right? It was a couple of months ago, but man, they drive by that church, or they, you know, they see someone wearing a shirt at the gym from one of your churches, or they see a mailer or an invite or anything like that, right? What happens is now your church is on their radar because of the time that you spent praying for them. So it's not just the people that end up showing up right away or the people that end up planning a visit right away, is, you know, like all of those people that you've spent time praying for. Now you're like, oh my gosh, like it's there, you are on their radar, and it might be a couple of months, it might be a couple of years, right? But you've planted that seed, right? In the law of sowing and reaping, like, man, you're going to reap that harvest. Like they might get plugged into your church. They might end up getting saved and getting plugged into another church. But the bottom line is, you know, you've planted that seed now.
Right.
And it's incredible. There was, excuse me. There was somebody that came out to, we have this Friday groceries deal that we do every single Sunday. We hand out about between 400 and 700 bags of groceries to families in need in Tulsa, right? And it sounds really cool, and it's actually an incredible operation, but it's a giant warehouse. It takes hundreds of volunteers to pull it all off. And it's actually, it sounds really cool, but the execution of it is not as fun as it sounds, right? It's actually a lot of people who are really ungrateful and who complain about the type of cereal that they're getting in their free bag of groceries, or they complain because you gave them a watermelon and they only like cantaloupe, right? Like, hey, you gave them Captain Crunch, but their kids only like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Like it's actually pretty shocking. Like you would think it would be a lot of people who are really grateful and thank you. You're giving them all this free food and you're doing it every single month or every single week. But the reality is that it's actually the opposite. And then you always got people who are there getting free groceries who are also asking for free money and all kinds of stuff, right? But what's interesting is there are some people there that literally are like down and out and have nothing in the pantry and don't know how they're going to feed their kids. And then somebody tells them about Friday groceries, and they're able to come out and they're able to feed their kids and actually have groceries. Some of them, sometimes we have older people who come in who haven't eaten for days. Right. They're able to come out and get free groceries and actually get fed. And so it's like, yeah, like you're going to get some of those people who complain. Some of those people aren't in need. They're just lazy. I mean, like literally, like they just want to come in and just get free food and eat someone else's food. And they're going to complain about stuff. But some people are really in need, and that's just going to happen. And so it's interesting. We had, we actually have multiple people who now work we call it the distribution center on our church campus, who actually work at the distribution center and volunteer because they came through the line, and the distribution center and Friday Groceries helped them get back on their feet. And so once they got back on their feet and actually were able to either get a job or get to a place where now they're okay, they wanted to give back, and they started coming and now volunteering. Right. And they'd be able to tell their story about, man, I started coming here and man, 6 weeks into it, then I found my job and I did this, and now I'm able to come out. Right. And some of those guys are even people that they still go through the line. They literally come out, they pass out bags, they do everything. And at the end, they go through the line themselves, grab groceries and head home. But it's changed their lives, that ministry that we're doing. Right. But man, it's kind of one of those things when you're getting in and you're helping, the down and out, when you're helping people that are in poverty, when you're helping people that are going through life stuff, man, it's not, it's messy. Right. And so that's what happens with prayer stuff. It doesn't matter if it's Facebook ads or if you literally just, took out a TV commercial and said, how can we pray for you? You get the same type of people every single time, and it's just a numbers game. It's just getting through some of the stuff that's not always that much fun in order to get to the people that really, really need it. And some of those people are going to come back. We actually had a lawyer who came one time who actually showed up in a Mercedes and said, man, I just lost my job. I've been trying to find a job for months. I know it looks like I have everything together, but I can't feed my family. We don't have any food at home. Right. So he was actually able to come for a couple of weeks and get food until he got a job. And then he came back months later and just said, man, thank you guys so much for everything you've ever done. I was in such a hard place. I had no idea where to turn. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't provide for my family for the first time in my entire life. And you guys helped me get back on my feet for a couple of months. And now I'm back. I'm at a new law firm and everything's going great. But I just want to say, guys, thank you guys so much for what you did for my family. Right. So like, man, we're on that dude's radar for life because of what we did. Right. So again, you never know who's on the other side of your faithfulness. It really won't be until we get to the other side of eternity that we'll understand just how far reaching these Facebook ads are. So, and on just myself, I just want to say thank you guys for your faithfulness and for doing this, because I'm telling you that you have no idea how big of an impact and what a big deal it is that you're doing this in your city.
We better
Can I
take some
ask you a
questions. If
question?
anybody. Yeah, good deal.
Go ahead. What's that?
I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
Or maybe a comment or a suggestion or something.
Yeah.
We did 3 months of the prayer ads and stuff. And of course we had a prayer team of people because, it gets overwhelming that, when you're getting all that are coming in every week. And so we had a prayer team that was replying back, we allowed I think it was like 5 administrators, people could reply back.
Yeah.
But what we found out is almost everybody, because my picture, my wife and I were on there, they all thought it was always me replying back. And so because the ad says, I would like to pray for you personally, have you tweaked that or not? Just say, my team and myself would like to pray that way. Because we felt what we should have done is probably we have someone named Christy on our team that could have replied, just say, hey, this is Christy. I'm on, the prayer team with Pastor Scott and everything else. Reply that way. If you guys ever thought about doing, or maybe you have, I had a lady blast me actually 2 weeks ago that came from the Facebook prayer page, because the prayer page says, I'll pray for you personally when you show up, me personally.
Mhm.
Well, because I have 2 campuses, I have to leave right when I'm done preaching at this campus. I have to leave and drive to our next campus, which is a half hour away. Well, because I didn't pray for her specifically after church, man, she sent me a nasty letter that I'm the biggest liar in the world and had to find somebody else to pray. And I'm like, well, we believe in body ministry here. That's a good thing, but I'm just kind of thinking, but I know some people, they think the only person that can pray is the pastor too, so I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your-
My guess is that lady probably would have complained no matter what, right?
yeah, me too. So yeah, same thing. Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered, if you prayed for her or not. People like that just complain to complain,
Yeah.
and kind of have their own issues going on. But so I mean, what we specifically have is like, hey, would you like to come out this Sunday so we can pray for you in person instead of just I can pray for you? And then like with a lot of that, hey, like what we do like in our church is like, our my pastor and all the staff and everybody, they just pray over all the prayer requests once a week, like in staff meeting, right? So that way, pastor's still praying for every single one of them personally,
Right.
Regardless of whether or not he's the one responding to it. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I pulled up the ads. I'm looking at a few of them now, and I think there are a few who are personally praying for him, but most of the ads all say something about the team praying for him.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah.
all right. So let's see. Do we have any other questions? I've got another meeting here in just a couple minutes, but I want to make sure we don't leave anybody hanging here. If you guys have any questions or stories or testimonies or anything.
Hey, Chris, this is Josh. I got one for you.
Yeah. What's up, Josh?
We just started last week, so we're brand new into this.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, it was great. We had 2 people show up on Sunday, and so that was great for us. It seems like maybe there's either something I'm not doing right or something's not quite dialed in right. It seems like the AI will stop at a certain point and it won't keep going. Now I get in there and kind of mess around with it and keep it going, kind of act as the safety net for that. But I'm having to do it on almost all of them. Is that pretty typical, or should that be taking those people further on in that process?
Well, yeah. So it basically every single piece is predicated upon them taking the next step. So if they don't take the next step, then it won't trigger the rest of the sequence. So like, for example, when they first go in, where it'll just say like, hey, this is Pastor Josh, click on the send prayer request button below and send me your prayer request. Well, if they don't click on that send prayer request button, it actually doesn't kick off the sequence. Some people will just respond to it. They're just not following directions, right? They didn't read it or whatever it is. So that like them clicking that button is what subscribes them to the bot and then kicks off the sequence. So if they don't do that, none of the sequences will jump off. But like if they stop responding during some of those, right? Where it says like, hey, we're having services, this Sunday, would you like to come out so we can pray for you in person? If they don't answer, then it won't shoot any more of the sequences. So it's predicated upon them answering those before it triggers the next part of the sequence.
So if it's stopping, like if they give their prayer request and the bot doesn't do anything after their prayer request, is that typical? Or because I've got some of them that it seems to work, it seems to respond with, and then some of them they give a prayer request and then there's nothing after it.
Well, yeah, so we can take a look. My guess is they probably just didn't hit the very first button, the send prayer request button. They probably are just typing in their prayer request without hitting that. So they're not actually getting subscribed to the sequence. It's not doing everything. That's 99% of the time. That's what's happening. But we can take a look at it and make sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else got anything, y'all?
Hey, Chris, did you go over what kind of any type of Christmas invite to send to through ManyChat or anything like that?
Just a broadcast is what
Okay.
what most churches have been doing. So what we're doing too is just letting everybody know, like, hey, we've got Christmas Eve services at 4:00 and 6:00. Here's everything, and just kind of sending that out. But I wouldn't. I would send that out the week of your services. Yeah.
Is there a certain day that you think is going to be best with Christmas Eve falling on Tuesday?
Yeah, I would actually probably send it out on Monday of Christmas.
Okay.
Just because the way it typically works in people's minds is they're basically thinking about the next service. So if you send it out on Saturday, they're thinking about Sunday, not Tuesday night.
I got you.
If we've been doing this for almost 3 months, we've not sent a broadcast yet. Should we get in on sending one now for one of these two services before Christmas Eve, or would we be better to just wait until December 23rd to send our first one?
I would wait till December 23rd to send your first one. It doesn't help you to send one beforehand, right?
Okay.
Because it's just you've got such high open rates anyway with all of this that when you send that on the 23rd, it's you're gonna get a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else before we pray and get out of here?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, quick question.
Yeah.
The guy that said they set up a prayer team, how does that work? Who gets chosen to pray with a particular person, or is it that just everybody kind of jumps in there and mans it themselves, or how do you? So you're not getting 3 or 4 different people with one person or that kind of thing. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did you want me to answer that, Chris?
Oh yeah. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. What we did is because everybody would get that exact same request on their phones,
Right.
or whatever it was. Whoever would get it and have time to reply to it within the next couple of minutes, they would send something right back that just says, "Sure, I would love to pray for you. Let's get ready," or something like that.
Okay.
And they would send something really quick that's only about like a short sentence. That way the other team member knows that person is going to pray for them. You know, but one thing we did, which was great though, is we would start tag teaming on people, because somebody would pray for them for back and forth for a while, and then they'd reply back, and then somebody else would, like a couple hours later, reply back again to something else that came up. And so sometimes we'd have 4 or 5 people praying, tag teaming up for somebody, which we thought was great. But that's how we individually didn't screw up, who's going to do it, who's not going to do it.
Sure.
Somebody would just say a real quick email, because by the time they would post up, everybody else would see that then and go, okay, they got it.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, guys, is that good? Are we done?
Yeah. Caleb, will you pray us out, bro?
Yep, sure will. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time that we've had with these pastors. I pray you would just continue to give them the energy and the strength they need to continue. Lord, I thank you that you are working through them, through their prayers, through their churches. And Lord, I pray that they would be able to even experience the joy of the testimonies that maybe they haven't heard from yet. Lord, give them the energy, especially during this season where there's just so much going on, even in their own families getting ready for Christmas. Lord, give them the energy they need to be as effective as they can possibly be. And Lord, I thank you that you provide all the strength that we need and all the resources and time that we need. Lord, I ask for your protection on all of us and our families. And we love you, Lord, in Jesus' name, amen.
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 Right. Well,
Thank you, guys.
yep. Thank you guys. Pastor Taylor, I'll let you and Caleb stay on.